Hello. Before we get into things, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Volt. I'm a highly energetic, semi-futuristic dystopian VTuber that streams pretty much everything from games to Unity projects on Twitch every single day at 6 p.m. EST. If you have any questions regarding anything you see here, feel free to hit me up on Twitter where I'm active the most when I'm not streaming. So, before we get started, there will be a few things you need. First, Unity 2019.4.31F1. This is the basic Unity package that you'll need for VR chat or VTubing. A lot of things are compatible with this version. Next is UniVRM. This lets Unity properly use VRM files. Without it, you can't import your VRM. VSF SDK is the next one. This lets you import your model as a .vsf avatar format that VSeeFace can read. Because of the custom stuff we're going to be adding, the new model will only be supported by VSeeFace, so you will need that as well. Next up is your own shader. You will need your own shader. I will be using the RealToon shader for this tutorial. I'll provide a link to it down below. It can be bought from the Unity Asset Store for around like 30 bucks. But you can use the steps in this tutorial and use any other shader you'd like. The settings may not be the same, they'll probably be a lot different, but you'll understand the process of how to do it after this. You'll just have to toy around and see what works and what doesn't work. Lastly, you'll need the spotlight I provide in the description below. It's a custom spotlight. And once at the end of this tutorial, I'll also provide my VSeeFace settings. That way you can get it looking even better. So first off, I'm going to open up a new project. I'm going to open up the Unity Hub, and I'm just going to start new project, 3D Core, create project. And that'll pop up right here behind me. While that opens, we're going to drop down over here. Actually, yeah, we'll be here. This will be fine, right? We okay. All right, there we go. There's our project. So from here, we move everything out of the way. We have a base project. We do not need these two things. Do not need them. Don't want them. And we're going to start by importing all of our things that I told you needed to download. First off, we need, let me grab it, UniVRM. So I'm going to drag and drop UniVRM down into the assets down below. And then we'll click import. When that pops, there's gonna be a little drop down box that pops up. Just click that. It's gonna be say import or cancel. All right, that'll take a second. You'll get one more pop-up box. You can't see it here, but it popped up for me. Just accept all. All right, and then once it's done, it'll say thank you, and you'll know it's installed because you'll have these two up here, UniGLTF as well as VRM0. And then we'll go ahead and grab our next one. We'll grab the VSF SDK, drop it in as well. Same space right here down below. Import when it pops up. Just drag and drop it all in here. Make sure it's all in your main asset folders, because if it's in another folder, like inside of one of these folders, it could cause some issues. I've had that happen. All right, once that's installed, you'll get your VSF SDK file down here, as well as you'll get your VSF SDK toolbar up here. Next, we'll go ahead and drag and drop in the spotlight, which is just my spotlight. Import that. Boom. It's in plugins right there. No biggie. Cool beans. And then lastly, you'll need your shader. So I'm going to be using the RealToon shader. So I'll be showing you how to use that. So drag and drop it in. Import. I click OK. And then with this one, with this shader, I don't know how it's going to be for whatever shader you decide to use. With this shader, I have to actually come into RealToon, come into the shaders, the shader package down here, and then the built-in RP, and I use this one over here. So this is for the 2019 later up top right. So click this. This installs all the actual shaders. And once that's done, we're ready to start. All we gotta do now is drag and drop in our avatar. So for this, I'm going to create a new folder, call it models. If I can spell, there we go. And then creating another folder called tutorial model, because I like to be organized. Drag and drop in the model there, and as long as you installed UniVRM correctly, the model should be imported perfectly. All right, and we're ready to start. So we have our model, we have all of our assets down here, all of our stuff, and what we want to do is take our model, drop it into the hierarchy. We'll go C. Use WASD to move, by the way. Hold and right click to use the camera, and you can use WASD to float all around. You can also use shift to go faster. Fun stuff, right? You can also use scroll wheel to move, zoom in and out. Just want to make sure one thing. Highlight your model, or just click on the model up here, and make sure the position is zeroed out. This will help you when you go to export it. It may have some, it may be off centered a little bit inside of VC face, and it'll spin around an axis instead of rotate itself. So if you have that problem where it's not quite centered, it's because it's actually not centered in Unity. All right, so now I want to show you one thing. So if you try to use the stock spotlight inside Unity, so we'll go ahead and push this little thing up here. I don't have to tell you what to do here because you're not going to be using this. I just want to show you that it doesn't work, which is why you have to use my spotlight that I provide. So if you see here, it simply has 0 shadows. 0. No shadows at all. So you cannot use that, which is why I provide my own. So here is the... Where did I put it? There it is. So here's the spotlight I found, created. I do not know how it happened. It took me months of figuring all this stuff out. And during that time, this asset came to exist. I can't remember if I got it from somewhere. I can't remember where it came from or if I created it. Regardless, it provides shadows. Now, they may look a little buns right now, but trust me, it'll look okay. So this is just the basic framework right here, this spotlight. From here, I want to show you a few things. So once you have this imported, you can see on the top right here, let me actually make this screen just a little bit smaller for you. Let me resize it a little bit. Can I move you over? Hold on, resizing. Why is that like that? I don't know why it's not in just 1080p here. That's funky. You know what? I'll fix that later. Don't worry about it. So over here on the right above me, right up there. Oh, my fingers just aren't working. I'm not using my streaming webcam because obviously that's hooked up to the streaming computer. So I'm using a different webcam for hand tracking today. But this slider up there, you can move this back and forth to get your beam width, I guess. It's the spot angle, which you can see here, which is how narrow the light gets. I keep mine around 80, 75 to 80, somewhere around there. The higher you have this, the worse the shadow quality gets, right? So the smaller you have it, the better it gets. But there's only so much you can do with this, right? So if you want to have all this stuff, it's top left here, this little this little button, right? It just allows you to have all this functionality for rotations and whatnot. But so you can have it super close and the beam super small for like the best shadows you can get, but you're not going to get much else. So if you want to show off your whole body won't have the shadows. So you want to pull it back. You want to get a happy medium, right? I like to have mine a little bit off to the side as well, so you can get these, you know, like that depth to it, that like the shadows are actually on your face instead of behind them. Oh, my hand's just really breaking today, huh? So I like to keep mine around that 75 mark, so you can get the whole body, as well as you can be somewhat close. Even probably going a little bit smaller. And that should be good, right? That gives you a high quality shadow, as well as I'll let you have the whole body. So we'll fix the things here, but other than that, the default is you have shadows now. You can mess with everything from here. You just want to take this spotlight, crucial information right here, crucial info. Drop this onto the model. That way it attaches to the model. So when you go to export, it exports the light as well. So this gives it your basics. Just straight up, it has janky shadows, but they are shadows regardless. From here, we're going to do all the fun stuff. So I like to start with the face, but we'll actually, you know what? We'll start from top down. We'll just make it nice and even. We'll start from top down. This is where the shaders come into play. So right here, all I do is just select this little drop down just so I can see less of that. And right now you have the VRM MToon shader, which is fine. It's not a terrible shader. It's just basic. So we're going to add, the one I added was RealToon. So there's a drop down. I see you can't see that for some reason, but oh well, you get the idea. Actually, you know what? Let me check this here. There. How about that? That's fixed. That's a little bit better, right? I was capturing application instead of capturing window. All right, now I'll use this drop down for the shader. RealToon, version 5, default. It's just straight across stuff. RealToon, it's just keep clicking. And then once all that's ready, you have your basic toon shader. And I'll use the drop down from here, and there's gonna be a few stuff that you're going to do to every single part of the model. First thing is disable the damn outline. I'll make a tutorial later on, Jesus, stop clicking on stuff. I'll make a tutorial later on how to use the actual outline to make like a Borderlands-esque feel. You can see adds just that outline to everything. If I take it off, oof. And so you just want, for now, we're not focusing on the Borderlands style. We're focusing on more realism type style. So uncheck the outline unless you want it. We're going to go up here to the texture drop down, and we're going to fix a few things. So if you see this strand of hair here is see-through on the other side. Simply come over here to double-sided, turn that on. And then the next thing is I'm going to enable texture transparency. I'm going to do this for every single thing that we texture, that we add the shader to, just in case one piece of it. Actually, I'll show you what it does in a moment. Here. But we'll come back to why I do that, because there's going to be a piece I'm going to have to show you about that actually. Other than that, this is done unless you want to change the main color, because adding the shader does darken things a little bit. So from here, you can fully recolor things. For now, we'll leave it how it is and minimize texture. And then the next one, shadow. Move my head so you can see it. These three settings here, these three little sliders, this one, and this one, and make sure you can see those. That's self shadow and real time on the top, threshold, and then the hardness. So for the real time shadow, the self shadow and real time shadow what this does is just changes the shadow color. Oh, that's right, we're messing with the hair. So it changes the shadow, like just to straight up the color. It's like the little grayscale. I like to keep mine at 0.7. It's like a good happy middle ground. All right, I messed that up because I hit buttons. Sorry, I enabled my redeems. So I won't use the numpad from now on. But for the next one, we're gonna go down to hardness. I'd start the bottom one next. So what hardness does, you won't be able to really see too much until we start messing with the face. But what hardness does is makes these shadows softer. So you won't be able to see that a ton here, right? Like you can see it a little bit, especially in like this bar right here. It makes it a harsh line versus a super soft line, right? So I like to take mine down to 0.5. So we're going to go to 0.5. And then the threshold brings the shadow back in. So we'll actually come up and bring it in, get rid of all those jaggies, and just bring it into where you feel comfortable. May need to bring it all the way in, may need to bring it out. You can play with these settings back and forth. They'll each do their own thing. But for now, 0.5. And we'll do that one right there. Gives the hair a bit more depth, gives the hair more shadows. We're going to move down to the face now. We're done with the hair. So from the face, there's two main things I like to touch. First of all is the eye whites. So you can see the pupil actually casts a shadow on Vroid models. So to get rid of that, we can actually go to RealToon, add the same shader in, and then straight up just go down to the shadow well, first, remember, disable the outline. No more outline. And then we'll go to the self shadow and real-time shadow, which is just the shadow color, right? Turn it off. Turn it off. Drop down texture. Double-sided. Enable transparency, and we're going to recolor it. So you can either make it like fully white to give it that really eye white, or I like to bring it down a little bit, right? So it gives it that almost shadowed look, which is almost where the default sits. I like that, like, because it makes it looks like it almost has a shadow, right? All right, and then from there, you're basically done with the eyes. That's all you need to do. Disable the shadow, disable the outline, bring the shadow all the way down. You can also just straight up just come down here and disable the shadow. Either way is fine. And then recolor if you want to. The next one is here, is skin. Now this will be all over the place. These will not be in the same order on your model, I promise you. These will always be different. So you just want to make sure you're looking for the one that says face underscore skin. See that right there? Face underscore skin. That's your skin texture. You'll also notice, like when we go to change it here, real tune, go straight across default, it changes, right? So you can see it. And then here's where we're going to notice the biggest changes on the model. Remember, double-sided on, and then we're going to turn on enable texture transparency, just in case you have a weird model that you made and it has a transparent part of the face. I don't know. I just always turn it on just to be safe. It doesn't hurt. And if you see the outline right there, outline is on. So I'll do my enable disable features, and we're going to disable that outline. And then that gets rid of the outline. You can actually see that in action there. You see it around the nose. You see that, like that weird thing it's doing right there. Poof, it's gone. If you want that, you can have that, and you can come over, drop down, you can change the outline color, thickness. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. For now, we're just going to leave it alone. Next, we're going to do our same three things we've done with the hair, which is shadow hardness and real-time shadow. We're going to go to 0.7, which changes, the darkness of the shadow. We're going to do a 0.7. Doesn't have to be perfect. Same with the hardness. I'm going to do a 0.5. You can see what it does there. Makes it a lot more soft. And then we're going to bring it back in with a threshold. And there you go. You have your basic shadows, right? If you want like, a little bit harder, bring it up to 6. Then bring it out a little bit or bring it in a little bit. Doesn't matter. There you go. And then to get it looking a little bit more realistic, we're going to add a little bit of color back to the face. And now when adding color to skin, when adding color to anything, but primarily skin, one rule to remember. If you want it to look, if you find like, man, that looks really good, that looks super realistic, I like it, bring it over just a hair. Give it a little bit more color because VC Face dulls it out. You can probably bring it back with some VC Face settings, but just straight up a rule, if you find a skin tone you like, bring it over just a couple notches and you'll have that same skin tone inside VC Face. And another thing for in a minute here, take these values here, the 185, 160, 160, and we'll actually be able to transfer that over to the other skin tone. So you can see the hands are a different color as well as the neck. So we're going to go ahead and click on the body here because we're done with the face. Then inside the body, you'll have all these. The bottom one happens to be the skin on this one. So we're going to Real Tune, default, default, default. Good to go. Do the drop down. And we're going to double-sided, enable transparency, and disable the outline. And next, what was it? What was it again? I already forgot. 185, 160, 160. Come back to the skin. Change the values. 185. 160. 160. And there you go. You'll have the same skin tone that's on your face. As long as it's the same skin tone that's also in Vroid. If you change the skin tone in Vroid and they didn't match them perfectly, it'll show up here. And we're going to do the same things here. These three sliders. We're going to make 0.7, 0.5, and then we're going to bring it in And before we bring in the threshold, we're actually going to go out and I'm going to expand this just a little, right? Get my 75 mark, around 85, just so we can see these hands. Because the hands is the primary place where you're going to see these shadows. So we're going to click back on the body. And for the threshold, we can bring it in right here and you'll see that difference. So if we don't want it too low or we see those little jaggies. So we're going to bring it up just a little bit. There we go. And now we're going to start where I told you where I would show you where the transparency comes in handy. So for clothing. So next up, we're going to go to the clothing top right here. It's the top, which is the shirt. Give it the real-time shadows. And allow it. Okay. And first, we're going to give it enable texture transparency. Because you'll see this black bar here was actually erased inside of Vroid, as well as probably some other parts. Look at that. This is a dress. This is actually like a whatever this is called. I don't know, but it's a color. It comes all the way down. When we enable that texture transparency, you'll see the neck and the bottom actually cut off correctly. And the next thing is, when we disable this outline here, you'll see that there's no back to it. That's where the enable double-sided comes in play. So that's why I do it on every single part of the body, just in case, or especially for commissions, just in case you have some weird thing about you that I'm not seeing. That way you'll probably notice it, but I won't. And it's just a good thing to do, you know? And then after that, do our same three things here. We'll take it down to 0.7, 0.5, and this one you'll be noticing easiest in the armpit area. So see that here? Back down to 0.7, 0.5, take it all away, and then bring it all back with threshold. Now with this, since it is like more of a detailed, like wrinkly jacket, for these kinds, I like to bring the hardness in a little bit, and then bring the threshold out a little bit more. Make it a little bit more of a sharper line. And we'll do the same exact thing for the pants, considering the pants also have tons of wrinkles. We'll do the same thing. So we're done with the jacket. We're going to come up here, minimize that, and we're going to find bottoms. Next one down, give it real tune, and drop down, double-sided, or actually I'll show you what this one does on this too. Disable the outline, and for here, you can see this is the bottom of the pants. Enable transparency, and now you see the inside here. Disable the outline, and allow it to be double-sided. Perfect. And we're going to do the same thing here. 0.7 to make it all match. We're going to all have the same color shadow. And then I'll still bring this down, but not as much, and I'll bring this in. Probably even just in a little bit more, just so we can get those harsh shadows on there. And then lastly, for the shoes. So find the shoes. Shoes are here. Allow them to go all the way through. Remember, double-sided, transparent, disable outline, and then 0.7. Yeah, for these ones, I'll probably keep it up real high, just so we can get that more detail on there. And you can recolor, retexture, whatever you need to from here. But other than that, basically done. And you can see here, by moving this light around, you can see, pay attention to the body. These are full real-time shadows. We'll actually move it back and forth here. You can see the shadows move with the body, and they will move just like they do with me here. You can see the shadows casting all over my body. I'm blocking my tracking as I do that. Then once you're done, come up here, minimize, make sure the spotlight is attached to your body. Make sure. Easy way to tell is to minimize your little drop down, and the spotlight should disappear. If it don't, it's not inside your body. And from here, we're ready to just come over to the VSF SDK. And export. And save it wherever you please. I'm going to save it onto a different hard drive. and we'll go from there. It only takes a second to export, and the more stuff you have on your model, the longer it takes to export. But if it's a stock model, it don't take but a couple seconds. It also depends on your computer too as well. And once we're there, you see me, hi. We can simply just drop it in. Oh, if I clicked open. There you go. Okay, so I want to show you a quick fix for something. This right here, this line, this line right here, I'm gonna show you how to fix that. Free little bonus edit. So that is caused by random transparency things right here, right? So we could actually take that. We'll come back into the tops and we'll set, and we can actually go and set this. We'll go to RealTune, version 5, default, and we'll go to fade transparency. So this will change a few things, but as you see, you no longer have that rising above thing. Now this won't actually catch shadows the same way, so you have to make it more of a self shadow, which is these options down here. But, you know, edit them, 0.7, hardness, bring it up a little bit, bring this in, and there you go, same stuff. And then that, go ahead and export, will be the fixed version. So I'll call this V1.0. And then once it's ready, import into here. And that will fix that issue. There you go. So that's all it is. You can do a lot more tweaking around. I like to do a lot more different, more detailed stuff as far as all this goes. But as far as just adding shadows and making your model pop more, that's all it's going to take. You will have to tinker around and find your own shaders if you want to do it for free. But the RealTune shader I use is available in the asset store. I will link it down below. Well, we're done here. Hope you got some use out of this. If you have any questions or need any help at all, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, where I'm active the most. Or if you want to come see me do this live, a lot of the time I figure out how to do this stuff as well as do it live on Twitch every day at 6 p.m. EST. Feel free to drop in and say hi and ask questions. I'll help do things. I don't mind. We have many more tutorials coming out, like how to make 3D rooms, how to change your outfit, like I'm wearing a hoodie, how to change this on the fly to another hoodie as far as redeems and just pushing a button goes without having to actually switch models, which is dope. I have about 10 more tutorials coming out, and this is just the first one. So let me know down below if this helped you in any way at all. Hopefully I can help at least some of you. But for now, until next time, I'm Volt. See you later.